When winter hit Willow Creek Estates, it didn't feel like winter. It felt like the neighborhood itself turned into one large freezing battlefield. Snow piled knee-deep against the mailboxes, ice glazed the driveways like a cruel mirror, and the air carried this sharp bite that cut deeper than the temperature ever could. But none of that compared to how cold the people here could be, especially one person in particular. Karen. If someone ever made a manual titled How to Ruin a Neighborhood, Karen would be listed as the primary author, editor, and spiritual inspiration. She wasn't just an HOA member, she was the HOA's self-appointed queen. She memorized every rule, weaponized every regulation, and patrolled the streets with a clipboard like a soldier monitoring a battlefield. Even the friendliest neighbors held their breath when they saw her marching toward them. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. After all, we had just moved here a few months earlier, and adjusting wasn't always easy. But any hope I had that she would soften over time evaporated the moment she locked eyes with my daughter, Alina. My 12-year-old daughter is disabled. She has a neuromuscular condition that makes walking difficult. Some days she uses crutches, and other days she moves in her wheelchair. But Alina is strong, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. She's the kind of kid who apologizes to her wheelchair if she bumps into a wall. She tries. She always tries. And she never asks for pity. But pity wasn't the problem here. Karen thought disability was an inconvenience, a weakness, a choice. From the first week, she made comments like, maybe she wouldn't need that wheelchair if she exercised more. She should try harder, children are resilient. You're enabling her. I ignored her at first, because I didn't want Alina to hear any of it. But Karen didn't stop. She found ways to inject her opinions into every interaction. When we asked for a ramp adjustment, Karen opposed it. When we requested accessible sidewalk clearance, Karen delayed it. When we asked the HOA to fix a broken streetlight near our house, Karen called it low priority. But nothing prepared me for what she did on the coldest morning of the year. It was the first school day after a freezing storm. Overnight, a thin layer of black ice had formed across nearly every sidewalk and driveway. The morning looked calm, quiet, peaceful, like something out of a holiday card. But if you stepped on that deceptively glossy surface, you'd slide as if someone ripped the floor from under you. Our driveway especially was dangerous, because the plow that came through the night before didn't clear it properly. I was already planning to wheel Alina down the slightly safer grassy patch instead of the pavement. Her school bus would arrive any minute, and I didn't want to risk her slipping. I opened the front door, and Karen was already there, standing at the end of our driveway, clipboard in hand, arms crossed, eyes sharp with judgment. "Good morning," I forced out politely. "It certainly would be," she replied coolly, "if people followed community standards." I blinked. "What standards?" She pointed at the thin glaze of ice on our driveway, as if we personally invited winter to attack our home. "You're responsible for clearing this. The HOA requires driveways to remain safe and accessible for emergency and transportation purposes." "It formed overnight," I said calmly. "The plow left a layer behind. I'm going to clear it as soon as I get my daughter to the bus." Karen smiled, a tight, smug smile that never reached her eyes. "That won't do." I felt a wave of dread. "What do you mean? Your daughter can walk," she said flatly, as if stating a scientific fact. "I've seen her take steps with those crutches. She walks short distances," I responded carefully. "On good days. And not on black ice." Karen tapped her clipboard. "Well, perhaps she'll never improve if she keeps being pushed around in that chair. Children rise to expectations. Today is a good day for her to practice." My stomach twisted. "Practice? On ice? Are you out of your mind?" Karen's tone snapped into that icy, authoritative voice she always used when she thought she was right, which was always. "Your daughter is capable. You're holding her back." Before I could respond, Alina rolled up beside me, bundled in her thick purple jacket and wool hat. She was smiling. She always smiled in the mornings. "Hi, Miss Karen," she chirped, not realizing the situation. Karen crouched down, giving a smile that didn't match her eyes. "Hello, sweetheart, are you walking today?" Alina looked up at me, confused. "Mom, my legs feel tired today." "It's okay, honey," I started gently, "we're taking the wheelchair path." But Karen interrupted. "No, she can walk. It's time she proves it." I felt rage rise so fast I almost shook. "Back off, Karen." But she didn't. She straightened up, stepped aside dramatically, and gestured toward the icy driveway as if unveiling a stage. "Go on," she said loudly, "let her show her strength." And before I could stop her, before I could even position the wheelchair to turn away, Karen moved behind the chair and unlocked the brake without permission. Alina gasped as the wheelchair rolled slightly. My heart slammed into my throat. Stop touching her, I snapped, rushing forward. Karen stepped back with her hands raised, wearing the smuggest expression I had ever seen. I'm just trying to help, she said sweetly. But it wasn't help, it was humiliation, it was control, it was cruelty dressed as concern. Alina looked down at the driveway, at the glassy, treacherous surface below. She gripped her armrests tightly. Mom, I don't think I can do it. You don't have to, I said, kneeling beside her, cupping her hands. You're not doing anything unsafe. But Karen scoffed loudly enough for the whole street to hear. Oh, please. Kids slip all the time. She'll catch herself. Her words sliced through the cold air. I stood up slowly, staring Karen down so intensely she finally stopped smiling. If anything happens to my daughter, anything at all, you'll answer for it. Karen didn't flinch, then let her try. That was the moment I realized. This wasn't about rules. This wasn't about safety. This was about power. And she wasn't done. Not even close. For a moment, everything around me felt slow, too slow. The cold air, the quiet street, the distant rumble of the school bus approaching from around the corner. All of it blurred behind the loud, growing pressure inside my chest. I could feel Alina's fear radiating through her small, shaking hands. She wasn't just scared of slipping. She was scared of disappointing someone who didn't deserve an ounce of her worry. Before I could wheel her away, Karen spoke again, louder this time, as though performing for invisible cameras. In this neighborhood, we teach kids independence. We don't coddle them. Independence. Coddling. Her favorite buzzwords whenever she wanted to hide cruelty behind good intentions. I was about to respond when Alina whispered, Mom, I don't want her to be mad at you. My heart cracked. This wasn't about walking. This wasn't even about ice. This was about power, and how it trickled down into a child's heart, making her doubt her own boundaries. I knelt in front of Alina again, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. Sweetheart, nobody gets to be mad at you for being safe. But she said I can do it, she whispered. She doesn't get to decide what you can or can't do. Karen let out an exaggerated sigh. You're making a big deal out of nothing. If she never tries, she'll never improve. I shot her a look so sharp she actually blinked. But Alina's eyes had drifted toward the shimmering driveway. It didn't look dangerous, it looked deceptively smooth, like glass. But black ice only pretends to be harmless. The second weight touches it, it betrays you. The school bus was now visible at the end of the street, inching closer. Karen noticed. Her posture straightened with triumph. Well, the bus is coming. If she's going to walk, she needs to start now. Alina's lips trembled. Mom, maybe I could try a little? I felt something inside me break again, but this time, in anger. No, I said firmly. You don't try a little. You don't try at all. Not today. Karen stepped closer. So now she isn't allowed to try even if she wants to? She wants to please you, I snapped. Not walk on ice. Karen shrugged. Children need discipline. You're making excuses. I stood up fully, taking the wheelchair handles to turn away. But Karen moved to block the safer grassy path we always used. She actually stepped in front of it. Use the driveway, she ordered. I stared at her. Move. No. Her voice was final, sharp enough that even the cold air reacted. Alina looked up at me, terrified. And that was when something in me hardened like the ice beneath our feet. I tightened my grip on the wheelchair handles. Move, Karen. She didn't. Instead, she gestured toward the ice again as if she were some drill sergeant demanding a recruit prove herself. Let her walk. Just a few steps. It's good for her. Builds strength. Builds character. She is strong, I said, my voice low with controlled fury. She doesn't need to prove anything to you. Karen rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. It's just ice. A mocking smile tugged her lips. Unless she's pretending. Kids learn fast when expectations are set. That did it. That was the moment the quiet anger inside me grew into something fierce. Something protective. Something unshakable. You're mistreating a disabled child, I said, my voice trembling not with fear but with rage. Do you realize how serious that is? Karen scoffed. I'm helping her. You're endangering her. She needs discipline. She needs safety. She needs to walk. She needs her mother, and she needs you to get out of the way. The bus driver had stopped at the corner now, watching us from inside the warming yellow vehicle. I could see his face change as he realized something was wrong. Karen saw the attention too. She squared her shoulders and raised her voice dramatically, as though preparing her side of the story. In this community, we don't allow laziness. Laziness? I barked. The word tasted bitter. Karen pointed at Alina. I've seen her take steps. She can walk. She is capable. Kids take advantage when you let them. I felt the heat rise in my cheeks despite the freezing morning. The idea that she thought a disabled child was taking advantage made my blood boil. You don't know her condition, I said. You don't know anything about her limitations, her pain, her medical history. Medical excuses, Karen sneered. Every parent has one. That was the cruelest thing she could have said. Alina's face fell. Her eyes lowered. She pulled her hands into her sleeves like she wanted to disappear. And that was enough. I stepped around the wheelchair, placing myself directly between Karen and my daughter. You will not shame her, I said. You will not belittle her. You will not endanger her. And you will not speak to her, or about her, ever again. Karen smirked and crossed her arms. Or what? You'll break an HOA rule? No, I said, I'll file a report. She laughed. A report? To who? I am the HOA. Not after today, I answered. That wiped the smile off her face. Before she could react, I turned the wheelchair sharply, angled it toward the grassy patch beside her feet, and faced her dead in the eyes. Move, now. For the first time, Karen hesitated. A flicker of uncertainty passed through her expression, not guilt, not regret, but the discomfort of losing control. Eventually, she shifted one foot to the side, just barely enough to let us squeeze through. I pushed the wheelchair forward, guiding Alina over the crunchy frozen grass, slow, careful, and safe. The bus driver got out to meet us halfway. His eyebrows knit together as he looked between us and Karen, who pretended to inspect her clipboard as though nothing had happened. You okay? He asked gently. Alina nodded shyly. I'm okay. I didn't want to fall. The driver looked at the driveway, then at Karen, then at me. He didn't need an explanation. I've got her, he said softly. Take your time. As he helped Alina onto the bus, Karen called out from behind. You're teaching her weakness. One day she'll have to walk. I turned to her with a slow, cold stare. One day, I said, you'll answer for this. The bus pulled away, carrying Alina to school. The moment it rounded the corner, I took a deep breath and pulled out my phone. I wasn't calling a neighbor. I wasn't calling a friend. I wasn't calling the HOA. I was calling someone bigger. Someone with authority above Karen. Someone who could finally stop her. And that was the beginning of the end, for her. The moment I stepped back inside the house, the cold air felt different, sharper, angrier, as if even the weather understood what had happened. I shut the door, locked it, and leaned against it for a moment, breathing hard. My hands were trembling with the leftover adrenaline. The image kept replaying in my mind. Karen standing over my daughter, insisting she prove she could walk on ice like some twisted test of strength. No more. This wasn't just rudeness. This wasn't just HOA drama. This was targeted harassment, ableism, endangerment. I wouldn't let her get away with it. I walked straight to the kitchen table, pulled out my phone, and dialed the number I'd saved months ago, just in case. Back then, I never imagined I'd need it. Now, it felt like the only lifeline left. Willow Creek HOA Oversight Office, a calm voice answered. This is Administrator Harris. How can I assist you? Mr. Harris, I began, steadying my voice. This is Alina's mother. We spoke briefly when we moved in about accessibility requirements. Ah yes, he said warmly. Of course. How are things going? I swallowed tightly. Not well. He must have heard something in my tone, because his voice shifted immediately. Tell me what happened. I told him everything, from the icy driveway, to Karen blocking the safe path, to her belittling my daughter's disability, to her insisting Alina walk across black ice just to prove she could. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't dramatize anything. I simply told the truth. And the truth was damning. There was a long pause when I finished. That is extremely serious, Harris finally said. Did she physically touch your daughter or the wheelchair? She released the brake without my permission, I said. It caused the chair to roll slightly. Another pause. That counts, he said sharply. That absolutely counts. I heard typing on the other end, fast and firm. I need you to submit a written statement, Harris said. I also need the approximate time, location, and description of the event. And I want you to know something. Karen has been reported before for verbal harassment, but nothing concrete enough for disciplinary action. My breath caught. Other families have complained? Yes, he said, but most didn't document it. Well, I said, I'm documenting everything. Good, he replied, because what you just described could lead to removal from the HOA board. Possibly permanently. A weight lifted from my chest, not enough to feel light, but enough to breathe again. Thank you, I said softly. I just want safety for my daughter. You'll get it, he promised. I hung up and immediately typed out the full written statement. Dates, times, exact phrases Karen used, the weather conditions, the unsafe environment, every detail mattered. When I pressed send, I felt something shift inside me. A spark of power, a reclaiming of control, but Karen wasn't done, not by a long shot. By afternoon, the storm clouds had cleared but the tension in the neighborhood had not. I had just finished making tea when I heard the sharp, aggressive banging on the front door. 3 knocks, rhythmic, demanding, unmistakable. Karen. I didn't open it immediately. I let her knock again, louder this time, like she owned not just the WA but the entire block. Finally, I opened the door just enough to face her. She burst into speech instantly. What's this I hear about you filing a complaint? Wow, that was fast. I didn't hear anything, I said calmly, because I didn't tell you anything. Don't play games, she snapped. Harris called an emergency board review, because of you. I lifted an eyebrow. Good. Her eyes widened, as if she couldn't believe I wasn't backing down. Do you know what you've done? She demanded. Yes, I said. I protected my daughter. You made me look bad. You did that on your own. Her jaw tightened so hard I thought it might crack. You're new here, she said through gritted teeth. You don't understand how things work. I run this community. People trust me. I almost laughed. People tolerate you. No, she hissed, leaning closer. They respect me. I didn't flinch. No, Karen. They fear you. There's a difference. Her nostrils flared. You think some pathetic little complaint will remove me? I have influence. I have authority. You had authority, I corrected. Past tense. Karen took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. But her eyes were wild with desperation. You're ruining your reputation, not mine, she insisted. The neighbors already think you're dramatic, emotional, overprotective. That's fine, I said. I'm not here to impress the neighbors. Her face twisted. You think your kid gets special treatment? She needs discipline. She needs to be pushed. I was trying to help her grow. By forcing her onto black ice? I challenge. She needs resilience. She has resilience, I said firmly. What she needs is for adults to stop abusing their power. Karen sputtered. I didn't abuse anything. I stared at her with a calmness that made her angrier. You humiliated her. I was teaching her. You endangered her. I was encouraging her. You minimized her disability. She exaggerates her disability. And there it was. The truth. The ugly, poisonous belief at the core of everything. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't shake. I simply said, thank you. She blinked. For what? For finally saying out loud what you really think. Before she could say another word, my phone buzzed loudly in my hand. I glanced at the screen. WA Oversight Office, Harris. Karen tried to peek at the phone, but I held it against my chest and stepped outside, forcing her to retreat off my porch. Hello? I answered. Good afternoon, Harris said in a firm, official tone. I wanted to inform you directly, an emergency disciplinary review for board member Karen has been scheduled. Karen froze. It will occur tomorrow at 10 a.m., Harris continued. Multiple members have already agreed to attend. Your statement has been logged and verified. Thank you, I said. And one more thing, Harris added. Several other residents have submitted complaints today, inspired by yours. My eyes widened. I looked at Karen, her face turning pale, her confidence unraveling. She will be temporarily suspended from WA duties pending investigation, Harris said. Temporarily? I asked. For now, he said. But after the review, well, we'll see. I hung up. Karen stood on my walkway like someone had pulled the floor out from beneath her. You, she whispered, you poisoned them. You turned them against me. No, I said softly. You did that all by yourself. Her hands clenched into fists. For the first time since I'd met her, she looked afraid. This isn't over, she snapped. Actually, I said, stepping back inside, it almost is. Then I closed the door in her face. The next morning arrived with a strange, tense stillness, like the neighborhood itself was holding its breath. Frost clung to rooftops, icicles hung like sharp teeth from mailboxes, and the familiar glaze of black ice sparkled across the sidewalks. But the cold didn't scare me today. Not anymore. Today was the day Karen faced consequences. I woke up early, made hot chocolate for Alina, and helped her get ready for school. She was quieter than usual, her eyes still heavy with the memory of yesterday. Mom? She asked softly as I adjusted her scarf. Yes, sweetheart? Is Miss Karen still angry? I paused, then knelt so we were eye level. She's not angry, I said gently. She's scared. Scared of what? Of the truth. Alina blinked. Did I do something wrong? My heart cracked a little. No, baby, you did everything right, the adults around you didn't. And now they're being corrected. She nodded slowly, still processing. Is she gonna get in trouble? Yes, I said honestly. Because she hurt you, and when someone hurts a child, they don't get to hide behind their rules. Alina exhaled, then whispered, good. Her small, quiet bravery lit something warm inside me. When the school bus pulled up, the driver gave an encouraging smile. She doing okay? She's strong, I said. That she is, he replied. As the bus rolled away, I took a deep breath. Now it was my turn. Today's disciplinary review meeting was being held in the HOA Community Center. Ironically, a building Karen herself insisted be upgraded last year. She loved the place. She gave tours of it like she built it from the ground up. But today, she wouldn't be leading anything. Today, she'd be facing the one thing she always thought she was above. Accountability. The parking lot was already half full when I arrived. Residents stood in small clusters, whispering, pointing toward the entrance, murmuring with curiosity and tension. I recognized many of them, neighbors who'd smiled politely but never fully approached us before. Today their eyes held something else. Empathy, concern, solidarity. I didn't expect allies. I didn't ask for them. But they had come anyway. When I stepped inside, I saw Administrator Harris near the front table, reviewing paperwork, his glasses sliding down his nose. He looked up as soon as he spotted me. Glad you made it, he said. Your seat is here, next to the board panel. I nodded and sat down. A few minutes later, the glass doors swung open with a sharp echo. Karen marched in, wrapped in a thick beige coat, her expression twisted into a mask of forced confidence. She stopped abruptly when she saw how many people had shown up. She clearly expected an empty room. Instead, the room was full, neighbors lining the walls, families seated in rows, and other board members sitting behind a long table facing the audience. Some avoided her gaze entirely. Others stared at her with disappointment or frustration. Karen's posture stiffened. She scanned the room quickly, expecting to see supporters. She didn't find any. She strode to the front, refusing to look at me, and sat in the chair designated for her. Her fingers fidgeted with her coat buttons, a crack in her usual control. A board member cleared his throat. We will begin. The room fell silent. This emergency session concerns allegations of misconduct, harassment, and endangerment by board member Karen Ellington. He read the words slowly, intentionally, letting their weight settle over the room. Karen immediately raised her chin. Misunderstandings, she corrected. Wild exaggerations by people who don't understand community expectations. Harris adjusted his papers. Let's hear the statement from the complainant. I stood. Every eye turned to me. Even Karen's. My voice didn't shake. I recounted everything. The icy driveway, Karen blocking the safe path, her insistence that my disabled daughter prove she can walk, the released wheelchair brake, the humiliation, the verbal pressure, her dismissal of Alina's disability. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't dramatize. I spoke with clarity, truth, and purpose. People gasped at parts. Others shook their heads in shock. A few muttered angry whispers under their breath. Karen scoffed loudly when I finished. This is ridiculous. The child wasn't harmed. Harris looked at her sharply. She could have been. Karen rolled her eyes. Children fall all the time. She's not made of glass. A murmur of disgust rippled through the room. A man in the back stood suddenly. My son broke his arm on that same ice last year. And you refused to let us salt our driveway because it was unsightly. Karen stiffened. A woman beside him stood next. You yelled at my mother for using a cane too slowly on the sidewalk. Another voice. You tried to find me because my autistic daughter flapped her hands outside. More people rose. Complaint after complaint. Story after story. A wave of voices, steady, angry, truthful. Each testimony chipped away at the invisible armor Karen always wore. Her eyes darted around the room, desperate to find support. There was none. Finally, Harris spoke. Karen, we have reviewed your behavior, not just from yesterday but from multiple prior incidents. Her lips tightened. I have always enforced the rules. You have abused them, Harris corrected. Repeatedly. A long pause settled over the room. The kind that signals something final is coming. The board has decided, Harris finished, that you are removed from the HOA. Effective immediately. Gasps. Whispers. Relief-filled murmurs. Karen shot to her feet. Removed? You can't remove me. I built this place. No, Harris said calmly. This community built itself in spite of you. Karen's face went red. This is unfair. She She jabbed a finger toward me. Manipulated all of you. That child pretends. She doesn't need. That's enough, Harris said sharply. Then he nodded at the security officer by the door. Please escort Ms. Ellington outside. Karen froze. For what? She demanded. For disturbing the meeting, Harris said. And for the safety of our residents. The officer approached. Karen backed away, but it was no use. Her reign was over. As she was guided out the door, she turned her head and hurled her final glare at me, hateful, wounded, powerless. This isn't the last you'll hear from me. I met her glare with calm silence. Then the doors closed behind her. And an entire room exhaled. After the meeting, neighbors approached me one by one. Some apologized for staying silent before. Others thanked me for stepping forward. A few even asked if Alina needed anything, tutoring, help, company, anything to show support. For the first time since we'd moved here, I felt something new. Community. When I returned home, I found Alina drawing at the kitchen table. Mom, she said excitedly. Did you talk to them? I did, I said, smiling. And guess what? Karen isn't part of the HOA anymore. Alina's eyes widened. She's gone? She's gone. Alina let out a small breath. Good. Then she went back to drawing, a little girl on a grassy field with the sun shining overhead. Safe, happy, free, and for the first time since winter began, the ice inside our home finally melted.